I welcome you all on behalf of the Professional Skills and Enrichment Committee of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. I'm enriched. We are enriched today to welcome Mr. Nakul Arora, who is a chartered accountant and is very highly experienced and accomplished chartered accountant who has established himself as a leading figure in the field of finance and professional development with a solid foundation in accounting, auditing, taxation, and financial management also as well. Nakul has not only delivered over 600 technical sessions but also conducted more than 350 sessions on soft skills such as communication and leadership. As the founder and managing partner of a successful firm of chartered accountants, Nakul has showcased his exceptional leadership skills by spearheading various Institute of Chartered Accountants conferences and debate groups. His speaking experience at prestigious events and with renowned organizations like Barco, Hilton Group, and Saxo Bank further solidifies his reputation as a dynamic and impactful individual in the industry. Whether it's about financial wellness, wealth management, or compliance with technical and professional standards, Nakul has expertise in and passion for excellence. His excellence shines through in every aspect of his work. Today, we are going to understand, see some basic aspects about storytelling and how to understand the professional excellence through storytelling. So I welcome Nakul on the stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CS Sanjay Agarwal ji from Pilibhit. He's been a wonderful event enabler, and I'm thankful for such a warm introduction. Although what he did right now was actually storytelling. So this is for the benefit of the audience. What Sanjay ji was doing right now was storytelling. Now, how is it storytelling? Now, people think storytelling is only for public speakers, maybe only for insurance sellers or something like that. No, storytelling is a essential part of an impactful leader or an impactful salesperson as well. Professionals are not salespersons, I agree to that narrative. But let us understand, ultimately, we have to sell our own full package. Because two professionals usually seem to have different opinion over controversial topics. And that's how controversy is born. I'll give you an example how this beginning was the storytelling. Now, to be honest, why do you think that such a warm introduction is given to a speaker every time you see a session? The reason is that a narrative is being set, that you're about to get into the room with such and such figure. Now let's understand, is it a lie? Is it something dishonest? No, it is totally honest. And that is what we are going to learn today, how to set honest narratives and succeed in your professional endeavors. I will begin my session now and discuss with you what all we are going to learn today. The agenda is very simple. I will first ensure that you are aware of the importance of storytelling in business, not storytelling in general, but storytelling in business. How important it is and what actually is storytelling in terms of business, if I say. Then we will definitely take you all on a journey of making the chartered accountant as a storyteller. You all will be my storytellers from this call onwards. After 1 o'clock, I promise you the next client that comes into your office, the next phone call that you take, you will be a good storyteller. Not an expert, but a good storyteller. So you know how to set the narrative. And of course, it will take some practice. And don't mind, there will be some blank shots fired. Because sometimes things are not going to fall in the place that you want them to fall, right? Let us understand, we will also talk about the key elements of storytelling, that what all are the key elements you have to focus. That is how you can make a checklist for yourself. Initially, for the first month or two, let's say for first 100 conversations, you will need to keep these key elements in front of you so that you can ensure that you have checked all the boxes. And what happens after those 100 conversations? I promise you will turn out to be a natural in terms of storytelling, because it is something which is not just a pleasure for the audience. Storytelling is a pleasure for ourselves too. Then we'll talk about storytelling in our client relations, that how we make effective relationships with our clients by the way of storytelling. Then we talk about if we check this one, then we talk about storytelling in leadership and team management as well. How will you be a good leader because you're a storyteller? How will a person be a good team manager if he or she is a good storyteller? And yes, we have to ensure chartered accountants are all about ethics. So, ethical considerations which you have to ensure that when you're financial storytelling, when you're giving a financial aspect of storytelling, the ethical considerations are extremely important. Then, of course, we'll give you some practical exercises. You can do it in your office, you can do it with your peers, wherever you are. We're not in the same room. So, of course, the activities have to be done on a separate scale. Let's start the session with the importance of storytelling in business. Let me just give you a few examples. Now let me just ask you that if I say, give me two or three huge successful business, very successful businesses that you've seen in your life, and you've heard of. Probably in India, if we talk about Reliance Industries comes to mind. Adani's come to mind. And there are many other industries that have taken the entire market through a boom. Internationally, you can say Apple, you can say Tesla, you can say companies which have disrupted the market on a huge level. Amazon is one of the companies, Google can be one of the companies. Now, what is so common about all these? More than their product. Yes, their products are fantastic, unbeatable. There is no doubt about the excellence of their practices and their products. But there is one more thing common. We all have joined hands with the narrative of these products. What narrative is the product giving you? I remember when I was young, there was a movie called Guru, which was released. And there it was shown that how a person from a common background does something uncommon, unconventional, and unbelievable at the end. Similarly, when we talk about any company in India, Tata's, how they have been a part of the India's independence, how they've been a part of the India's pre-independence work, and how they have contributed to the success of the nation altogether. That is a narrative that has been set, and they are extremely successful due to the product plus the narrative that has been set. So I'll give you an example. I was very recently, I mean, it was just 2 or 3 years ago. I was going to a company. I was signing some certifications as an assurance professional, of course. And the CFO of the company came up to my seat and said, "Come on, you are signing for this company, and this company has no reason to be doubted. It's such an ethical company. You see, the brand name says it all." As an auditor, I was a little furious. I said, "Okay, I'll find something and I'll give it to you." And I did find something and I made good of myself. But honestly, that is the level a narrative works upon. And similarly, when we talk about Apple, we talk about how Steve Jobs had the passion to change the entire world with his contribution in the world of electronics and devices. Let's move further from the standard companies and talk about things like Amazon. We all have been happy to see the small pictures of a guy sitting inside a small room and creating Amazon. That's a narrative we've connected to. More further than that, have you ever seen the advertisements for food delivery companies? I'm not advertising anybody, but I'm trying to give you an open picture. I'm taking names today, which is unlike what I do, but I'm doing it to ensure that you are able to remember it straight away. I remember when Domino's came into India, the tagline was 30 minutes or free. Now, people were not really thinking about the pizza taste. It is a great pizza, I hope, and I hope that it serves well to everybody. But what they were doing is they were selling you the punctuality, and they were setting a narrative that we are punctual, the best punctual pizzeria in the entire country, and that took on and it became one of the most successful units. And ultimately, when McDonald's came into India, they came in with a very small,
Your voice is gone. Nakul, your voice is gone. And video as well. Nakul, your video and voice is gone. Friends, let us bear with us and see there is some technical issue with Nakul Arora's network. Kindly bear with us. He is just joining and see connecting. इसको कहते हैं रुकावट के लिए खेद है. Perhaps Nakul must be coming back quickly. We are going to understand how we can enrich ourselves with the unique way of presenting ourselves. Storytelling in professional endeavors is a very good and unique, innovative idea which Nakul is going to share with us. Perhaps Nakul is back.
All
Welcome back, Nakul ji.
having
Welcome back, Nakul ji. There was some technical issue, I think.
you.
So yeah, please
Yeah,
come back
yeah.
and see resume the this talk. Right.
Sure, sir. Sure. I'll do that. Thank you. So we were talking about the importance of storytelling in business. Now let's understand. Let me just give it fraction for you that how in bullets it can actually help you. That storytelling in business talks about. I was talking about narratives, setting a narrative, how an introduction to a speaker sets a narrative of a session, how how a company sets a narrative by 30 minutes of free, how a company is able to set the narrative that everything will be delivered to you on hand whenever needed. Now we have to understand that how the stories enhance memory and understanding. All right. Let's just give you an example. Look, if I ask you to remember 10 words, okay? Remember 10 words. Let's say I'm going to write the words down and let's do this. These are the
Nakul, your voice is
the
cracking.
one who write down.
Nakul, your voice is cracking. Somewhere
Okay, so
technical
just
issue is there. I think please
I
get
just
it.
want I hope the voice is better now, sir.
Yes, it's okay. Yes, it's fine.
Perfect.
Please carry on. Please carry on.
Yeah, so let's just start writing down a few names, a few items, and I would want you to remember. You don't write them down. I am promising that I'll write what I will say. Okay. So I'll write the words randomly, extremely random. Let's say we're talking about apple, a lamp, and in third, let's say Michael Jackson. In fourth, let's say a beanbag. Number five, let it be black. Number six, let it be a cow, maybe. Number seven, let the word be music. Number eight, we can say the word to be okay. I'm sorry, I don't even have a chat option. Otherwise, I love to participate. I love to have you guys in this activity. But we will say the number eight word to be something like okay, let's say wood. And number nine will be, let's say, Nike. because I see that on the screen. I'm sorry, I'm giving you random numbers. Number 10, let's say chartered accountant. Now it is difficult to remember all the 10 things. I know I cannot discuss with you, but more no's than yes will be in the audience for remembering all the 10 words that I've said. Right? Now let me make a story out of it and let's see how many of you will remember it. So imagine Michael Jackson sitting in the light of a lamp on a beanbag, wearing a black t-shirt with a cow's picture on it, listening to music, having the glass of wood under the light of a lamp, wearing Nike shoes alongside his chartered accountant. I think now you are able to remember the 10 words more easily. So the human mind is more attracted to the stories and the way it is done. Now it was easy to do an activity. Let me just put it in place of a business. How businessmen can use this, how chartered accountants in practice can use it. I'll tell you how you are already using it. Many times, I would say all of you are honest. So most of the times this happens. A client comes into your office, he talks about an issue, and you are able to recollect, okay, the person, Mr. X, right near your building, he faced a similar issue. I did this, that, and we were able to solve it. Now we just have to say that I have been able to solve this issue in past. But what is more impactful when we say that we have done this in past and this is how we approached? Now, let me just show you something. If you guys are, I'm sure that many of you are interested. And what's the point of, trying to set a narrative and not setting a narrative myself? Just give me 1 second. I'll show you something which will be of way too interest for you. And let me just give you 1 second. Give me one moment, please. What I'm trying to show you is how narratives are set and how it is done in business. Because as a person like me, I'm somewhat of a skeptic person. So I do not believe in something that I have not seen. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show you something that has been done successfully and how we are trying to convince a client and how things are done in practice. Okay. So let me just try and give you 1 second, Jimmy. Just a moment. I'm going to share the next screen on air for you, and I will make you the how the narratives are being set. Okay. So I would see if Sanjay ji can just back me up here. Can you see the screen, sir?
Yes, it's quite visible.
Okay.
Right.
So a client comes into my office, and this is a practical letter given by my firm, by the way. I'm just sharing it so that you can, have a look at it and believe how storytelling works. So firstly, the client comes to me and says that he wants to convert his partnership firm to an LLP and he wants to retain his PAN number. So what I said is, I first said that I will discuss this. I did not say I'll give you an answer. I did not say that I'm here to solve your problems. I said I will discuss your issue. First, I said understand the process. So I'm not saying that okay, we'll assess things and we'll plan. You give me this document. That no. Look at the way that I'm constructing my sentences. We begin by conducting a thorough assessment of your current partnership structure, liabilities, and tax obligations to ensure a smooth transition. We do this. We're making a narrative out of it. So this is how we begin. Our team will look, our team will work with you. So we're making an image, we're making a presentation that our team will work with you to create a tailored plan that aligns with your business objectives and legal requirements. So we're now creating how we are going to, starting making a narrative. We're making him imagine that yes, our team is working with him and how comfortable we're making it for him. People are very scared of telling the real process. I'll tell you where the problem happens. I've seen many people having a surgery, and every doctor comes in, every surgeon or maybe the pre-ops, they tell you that we make a small incision, we go inside your stomach, we take this out, we leave it there, and that's done. Now, how does this affect us psychologically? Professionals are dealing with issues that are scary and terrifying for the common people. Yes, that issue which you are facing is scary as hell for your client. But for you, it is a cakewalk. It's not easy to say, "Ah, we'll take care of it. We have so many contacts, this, that, that." This might work with a person who is himself or herself a very self-boasting or an egoistic person. But a person with reason wants a reason. A rational person will want you to tell them, walk them through with the process of the entire, issue, and then they will want you to be on the case. Good thing here is that when you are doing a storytelling, when you're explaining an issue, people seldom ask for guarantees, and things happen naturally. They come naturally to you. Okay. So then we are okay. We're doing things like how will we go about, and how will things happen and this and that. So this is about it. And I sincerely apologize because I think I have tried my level best to cover up things. But if something has been visible which was not supposed to be, just pardon my mistake for the reason I wanted you to really look at that how things are happening in practical life. Now let us talk about the role of storytelling in building trust and relationships. Okay, let's talk about your school time crush, the guy or the girl you liked in school. Remember how you used to talk a lot whenever you have to, impress somebody. You talk about how you think and how things have happened, and you try to share so much about your personal life. You try to, you'll only tell stories where you come out looking good or funny, or you come out looking like you want to look in the end of the story. All right? Remember that? Now let me just elaborate the question for you. That you yourself are making a narrative. Let me just ask you a question. What clients do you talk to your potential clients about? What clients are we discussing with our potential clients? The ones which we have successfully encountered and we have been able to overcome and we've been able to serve better. Or we tell the clients we are failing with, we are having miserable experiences with. We do that as well, but that we do to set a narrative of, timely payments, that we do to set up a narrative of timely, responsible delivery of information and stuff like that. But in reality, we are doing storytelling already. I'm just asking you that do it like a boss. You're doing it already. I'm proving it to you. You tell them about clients. You tell them about how your firm works. You tell them stories about how you manage your relationships, personal, professional, however. So this is the role of storytelling in building trust and building relationships. Quality relationships are built with the help of storytelling. If I tell you 100 times that I am not comfortable with somebody getting too personal with me, and rather I tell you a story that somebody who got too personal with me, I screwed up with their happiness, I think my narrative is set. Hardly people will come and mess around with that. Look, I've already given you successful examples like Apple, Nike. We've already discussed that. So I think this is one box we can check. And unfortunately, you guys not even available at chat, so I can say check or uncheck. I cannot do it myself. Any which ways. Let's now take a chartered accountant, our storytellers. How will that happen? Look, first of all, it is from our number crunchers to financial narrators. Let's accept a fact. We have multiple jobs, but the most important job that a chartered accountant has.
Reframing our role from number crunchers to financial narrators.
Yes. So, what is happening? What are important roles that a chartered accountant is playing? Look, there was a time when the numbers were delivered and the CA's job used to end. Today, the complications are huge. Huge means extremely vigorous. So what I'm doing is I'm just turning some things on with my camera. I'm sorry, I'm playing around with the camera a little. Just a second.
Intersection.
Okay, I'm removing the background filter for you so that I can actually show you what I want to show you. And
Intersection.
I'll stop my screen sharing for 2 seconds because I want to show you why our role has changed. You can see me on my screen and this many books, this is the size, more than this is the width of the books. This is of accounting standards. That how the accounts will be written is written to make accounts non-complex. Such a complex route is being taken. I know it's a little funny, but it's okay. That's how things have, been lately. But what do we understand with the help of, such a huge thing? Our job is not merely, crushing the numbers down and giving you the results. Our job is huge and it has the scope has extended to instead of just being able to deliver and comment on such things, we are supposed to ensure that these things are understandable for the rest of the world. These things are understandable for non-financial background. So our role has become more of a bridge and less of what we do. Now, as a bridge, there is an intersection into data and narrative. Let's talk about users of financial information. Do you remember applying for a bank loan or maybe for a client when they go for a bank loan? Just remember, does does the bank loan when you apply for a bank loan, does the bank decide how much loan to give you on the turnover? Do they decide it on your profit? Do they decide it on any one single statement? No, they don't. That is just a way of establishing a narrative for the borrower. Let me just set a small example for you. In this example, uh, I've seen that people usually have a problem with when bank statements are asked for in visa applications and bank loans as well. Many people want to know why banks ask for a bank statement. More than anything else, more than the minimum balance that you maintain, more than the EMIs that you pay, their main concern is how many EMIs bounce out of your account. How many times you're not able to acknowledge the borrowing that you've done. So this is the way they're establishing a narrative towards you. So the data is the basis of setting a narrative. Let's talk about the other major, other major user of financial information, other major financial users of information, the investors, our favorites. If you are working for a listed company, all the CAs in the audience who are working for a listed company, they know that the information they put in the financials, instead of tax authorities, the most important thing for them is how investors will feel about this information. Now, even the investor is just looking at the data and he or she is trying to predict what will happen 5 years down the line, what will happen 20 years down the line. Now, nothing is guaranteed in this world. So why such a data is being used? Actually, the data is a stepping stone of a narrative. And if a chartered accountant can understand that how to set narratives with the help of data, we'll make the both things and we'll rule. So all the things that we do are actually, in a way, the financial statements are also telling a story. When you present financial statements with a preceding year to compare, you're also telling a story. You're telling a story of growth, a story of failure, a story of success, a story of stability, a story of consistency. So we have to overcome the boring accountant stereotype. The accountants are not boring. Now, if somebody asks me, what do I do for a living? I say chartered accountant because I come from a family of farmers, by the way. Okay. So my family has not seen a chartered accountant before one became in their own house. So once somebody who does not know a lot about my profession, I have to explain my profession. So what do I say? I take care of people's money. So I'm not a professional who saves lives. I save the wealth which lasts for 7 lives, which lasts for 7 generations. Many generations, your wealth will last for. Your life can be saved only until you're alive. but your wealth has to be saved and created for your upcoming generations. You might not be able to give in your health to your, to your future generations, but you will give your wealth to your future generations. So I talk about my job like that. So we have to overcome that boring stereotype, and that just does not only give you the pleasure of being looked upon, but it also gives you the pleasure of how people see you when they come into your aura. When I talk about my personal energy that goes around whenever I get into a room, it has to be a very, very calm and interesting aura. You don't have to give in vibes which is very boring. How to ensure? Look, let me give you a case study. Now we'll move on to the case studies of how storytelling is being effectively used. I've shown you one way that I give my quotations, and I give my basically when I give my verbatim, I give it in a way of a story that how things will be happening. Now, let's give you another example. I just recently saw a news article, I think it was 15 days or 10-15 days ago in Economic Times, which said that a certain CA firm or a certain management consultancy financial giant is aiming to attain a turnover of 20,000 crores. What was that narrative? They're just telling a story and they're just attracting more people towards them. Not just the employees, not just the leader, even the clients love to interact and engage with a bigger mission. Everybody wants to get and be a part of something bigger. It's just a matter of time, it's just a matter of consistency that when that big will be around you and not around somebody else. So this is how chartered accountants become effective storytellers. And mind you, it is very important, more important than you may think. It is important that a chartered accountant is a good storyteller going forth. Moving on, the key elements of effective storytelling. Now, why am I saying that I want a specific, target of key elements? I said you already are telling stories. So I hope you guys agree with me. And because you guys cannot talk right now and you just spectators, you're not able to give your voice or messages to me, I can just say you agree with whatever I say. I'm sorry, that is the luxury that I'm taking in this side of the screen. And I'm sorry that I would love to hear your feedback. You can email me later on. But the reality is that I've already told you that you guys are already storytellers. You tell stories, but how you can enhance your presentation, your existence in your rooms is going to extend when you know all the elements, and you're not, maybe you're doing storytelling, but you're not fulfilling all the elements. And your storytelling is not that effective. That's how many people try to say, oh, this person is too good in making relations. No, they're just good storytellers. They are just good storytellers. When we talk about grandmothers, kids often agree and, go and prefer the grandmother who tells better stories. Because storytelling is something which has been a part of our life and our happiness since very young. Okay? Let's go ahead and, let's talk about the elements of storytelling. So the structure has to be in a very common way. There has to be a beginning, there has to be a middle, and there has to be an end. I'm so sorry. This is how it works. There has to be a beginning of a story. So how do you want to start? For example, you want to talk. Just give me 1 second. So then let's talk about characters. The financial data has to be humanized. So, how do you want to begin your story? Let's say I want to talk about the mistakes that have been found as an auditor, and the query sheet has to be discussed with the management, and I want to do it with the way of storytelling, effective storytelling. I would want to know where to begin from. Where do I want to start? Maybe the best place to start will be Well, in the efforts to make your organization more efficient, in the efforts of making a better internal control, in efforts of reducing the risk of your organization, we want to tell you that how certain things have been observed and how we want to firstly address them, first address all the mistakes, address all the queries, and in the end, have suggestions about it. That yes, these problems are there today, but if we do this and if we do this going forward, I think these errors can be avoided and we can be a better organization. We can have better investors. In the beginning, there should be something that holds them down. In the middle, have the bad information, and in the end, give them something that they want to hear more. This is how a structure is made of a story. Then, characters. When we have to humanize the financial data, don't talk about expenses is just, a number is there in the account. When we say things like, sir, your human resource expense is increasing beyond the accepted level, and this could be a disturbing factor. Human resource expense can be a good pain, which can, disturb your entire operations going forward. Debt to equity ratio is a bad sign. There is something like 1.9, 1.95 is the debt to equity ratio recently. You just have to talk like in terms of like humanizing the financial data. Sir, your debt is, it is growling over your entire equity. And I'm sorry to tell you that if you just miss one small installment, your debt to equity ratio is going to kill it. It's going to, go down it's going to go down the drain. It's coming down on you, and it is no comeback from there. It is looking at you with the evil eyes. Please try and reduce your debt with any amount of equity that you can, with any amount of efforts that you can, but you need to have a lower debt going forward. So this is humanizing the financial data. Let's talk about conflict resolution. There has to be challenges and there has to be solutions. Like I've already told you about beginning, middle, and end. This is how conflicts have to be resolved in you to present the challenges and try and present the solutions too. Then there has to be emotion. Connect the numbers with real world impact. Now, in extension to, excuse me, in extension to all that we've talked about already, I would like to talk about the things like when we say that, sir, your revenue is increasing well, but your gross profit seems to have taken a hit. That means the demand is only in response to the price. And I think this will not go well with your investors. This information is not sitting well with your investors. It's not numbers, it's the impact of those numbers. So the clients actually respect what you're doing. The problem which has been, and people who don't respect accounting, actually, they've never connected accounting to any impact coming on to the real world. All right. They think the narratives are being set by the market itself, by sale and purchase. I don't know. Maybe the stories are not being told well. Maybe the financial data is not being relevant. The relevance of financial data is not coming into the light enough. And that happens when less financially aware people join the industry. But let us understand, you have to tailor the story according to your audience. If you want to explain somebody from a non-financial background that why a company which is making a loss for the last 5 years suddenly comes into profit, this should not be a reason of buying the share on a 500% premium. I think you just need to tell the audience in a way that, the company has not been making but depleting its wealth from the last few years. If we reduce the capital that has been introduced, they're just burning away whatever the money that they're getting. So I don't think that that is the right path, because they burn money, they will burn yours too. This is exactly how you have to tailor the story according to your audience. Moving further, let's talk about financial reporting and how the storytelling works. Okay. First, know your material well. Whatever information you're about to present, before starting to present financial information, I've seen many youngsters talk about making the balance sheet before conducting scrutinies of account. And I'm sorry, whichever CA firms are doing it, I would just want to say that just do not let them go ahead and finalize things before they've been able to, touch the data internally first. Making a few suggestions like a CFO is okay, but developing the financial statements, writing the notes to the account are no. Why? Because they do not anticipate the common questions. Because when you've done it for a few years, you know what common questions are coming in. And yes, have responses rehearsed. Think about what you're going to say if this comes up. Think about what you're going to say if that comes up. And that is how good speakers are made. And that is exactly how good financial information is being built. However, let's move on and understand how analogies and metaphors are used to explain complex concepts. This was a metaphor that your debt to equity ratio is standing on a liquid ground. It's standing on it's standing on a quicksand right now. One missed installment is going to go down. This is using a metaphor to explain the bad condition of your debt to equity. Let's talk about the increased sales but reduced gross profit. You're burning your funding. You're burning the money. You're burning the investment. You're not actually burning anything. It's just a metaphor to explain the complex concept. Another concept is that there might be some examples where the company is just carrying a few costs because of a few relations or something. People say things like, so you're just carrying the load over you. You're just carrying these people as liabilities. They're not something which is giving you anything, but only you are, delivering and delivering and giving and giving. So this is use of analogies and metaphors. This is how complex concepts are being explained. Moving on, visual storytelling. Now, I had that in my background in the beginning. I'm sorry, I removed it. I think I'm just going to choose it again. Just a second. So here it is. If you see it behind me, right now you see there is a graph. There is a graph which shows you that something that the line is going downwards. This is visual storytelling. You see the person behind me. He's very sad. He's crying by just looking at this red line going downwards. Why is that happening? Because it's a visual storytelling. Visually, we are telling them that how your company is going down, and it's not really working for you. And he's just holding his head and thinking, what the hell is happening? This is visual storytelling. I'm not telling anything from my mouth. I'm not saying a word. I'm not making characters. I'm just making you visualize how things are going. So, moving on, narrative financial statements, bringing life to numbers. Numbers have to be brought alive. I'm so sorry, I cannot show you a lot of financial information. I cannot show you a lot of things that I carry in my system because, of course, there is some confidentiality involved. But trust me, I would just say go to the websites of the listed companies of the Fortune 500 companies, just download their annual reports, just download their quarterly results, and you would see how numbers are given life. Medical and pharmacy companies are not talking in terms of profits and anything, but they are talking in terms of number of lives saved. Why? They are developing, they're making their numbers talk for themselves. Moving on. The executive summaries that you make should be compelling, should be extremely impactful. This we do a lot when we write articles. When we write articles, we make an executive summary or somebody says synopsis. In the beginning, we write something that compels the audience, they compels the reader to read the remaining part of the statements. This is exactly how you know uh, executive summaries are created and exactly why it is important that we understand, appreciate, and respect the storytelling techniques. Okay, let's now go ahead with just a moment. Okay, storytelling in terms of client relations, that how storytelling will work when you are building relations with the client. Look, stories are can be used to build rapport and trust? How? I'm so glad you asked. Okay, because I said that you are able to convince somebody, you're able to connect with somebody with the help of a story, there is a rapport that's going on when you're telling a story. A listener and the narrator of a story are both building a rapport with each other. Something is beginning there, a relation is beginning there. And yes, because something is told in form of a story, I told you, like I said, apple, lamp, Michael Jackson, beanbag, and these words, you better related and better remembered when they were in the form of a story. Now, when you understand something, you trust it. Let me just play with the fear of yours. Many people have a fear of the dark, and I think most of the people fear death. Many people fear something called diseases. Many people fear financial liabilities. But you'll see that many doctors maintain an unhealthy lifestyle. Many chartered accountants have unhealthy financial practices. Many times you've seen that, people have just been accepting of the fears that are happening, especially people who have diseases, sorry. A person with cancer is less scared than a person who knows that another person has cancer. Why? Because trust begins with understanding. Once somebody understands and has a disease, they understand it, they're more comfortable with. Like my father struggled with cancer, I think, 14 years ago, and I think I'm more comfortable with that disease. I do not get very scared when cancer comes in. I do not lose hope in that person living. I do not think that person will drop dead any moment because trust begins at understanding. If you understand something, you trust it. And when you do not understand someone or something, you never trust it. So, by using a story, a rapport is being built and trust is being built because they understand your words and your narrative better. Now, let's talk about financial strategies being explained through a narrative. How financial strategies can be explained? Okay, what sounds better? Just I'm going to do two things. I'm going to be a CFO and you all will be my finance department. All of you, any number of people there in the audience. And because I'm the CFO, you cannot talk to me back. I can just talk to you. So that let's just make it that way. So I can start by saying, okay, so we're targeting doubling the revenue. We're targeting only 0.25% increase in the expenses, or maybe let's say 0.5% increase on a two times increase in profit. That means we have a good net profit of 0.5% more than just by the increase in revenue. I think that is the benefit we expect from the economies of scale. Thank you. Go back and do your job. Now, let's talk about this in the way I have been talking to you today. Let's make a story out of it. And this is the way I'm going to explain you. Storytelling does not necessarily has to be a long way of saying something. Well, I think we've been doing well, and the sales team will make sure that this time we will touch double the revenue, right? I think the sales are doing fantastically. We at finance just have to support that, so we have sales done. And my FP&A team, all my expenses team, please find the ways of cost cutting. I think you are the greatest people to do it. Please cut the costs as much as you can, so the cost monster can be reduced, and the fairy of revenue can, put their arms around us and we can just soak our heads in the lotus river of the profit that we are going to make out of it. I know it sounds to be a little icky, but the reality is I'm just making the story in 2 minutes. What do you expect? So I'm just trying to say that the strategy, if is said through a narrative is being said that we'll be more efficient and more deliverable. We will deliver better and we'll be more efficient with our delivery. I think it is one of the best ways to establish that the financial strategy maybe not work. I cannot guarantee that it will be worked upon because of this, but at least we can be assured that they understand it, that they relate to it, and they might want to get on board and work towards it. All right. Addressing client concerns with relatable anecdotes. This is a very common thing we do. I think we've already talked about how we tell them stories about how we've handled the case. Many times we have, most of the times we haven't. I'm not sure. We try to, relatable anecdotes are being provided. I'm going to say something else here. Not the same case, but client is concerned about, sir, my child is planning to go abroad, and this income tax department has noticed me around, and I don't know that if I can leave the country or not, if they let me go or not. You can just come up with a relatable anecdote. Sir, there will be challenges, and I think this is better for you. You already have faced so many challenges in your life. I have been with you for the last 10 years, 20 years, and you've been able to come above the challenges like a celebrity that you've been doing all the time. So why not you just stay confident, and you'll be able to come through this like all the times you come through everything. And I also believe that because you've not done anything malified, you're ready to present yourself, you're ready to pay off if it's case of loss. You've deposited the amount required to file an appeal, and I think your case is in the direction that you want it to be. So please do not be very concerned. But yes, if there is any problem, you can always come in touch with me, and I can definitely try my best to get your problem sorted with my time. So it is relatable for the client that yes, he has done it in past. It is relatable for the client that how we have been able to help him in past. And yes, this is how I'm addressing my client's concern with relatable anecdotes. Now, now it's a case study time. Well, I think the case studies are between us.
सूद है अति सूक्ष्म
Case studies are between each other. I'll tell you. Remember your longest clients. Remember the clients who have been in the roots of your practice, and remember that you do not have a client and a professional relationship with them. Most of them, there is a story when those clients come into your office, and they usually make it a point, sir, we used to come in that office, which is such a small place we used to sit on. I've seen you working with 2 people, now you work with 15 people. My company was at just 50 employees that time, today we have 500 employees grown together. This is how successful client relations are built on storytelling. The relationship of the client and the professional is telling a story in itself. And this is exactly what is required from my fellows down there. Moving on. Look, how storytelling can be used in leadership and team management. Look, I told you that the CEO or the founder of Apple used to start his speeches by saying that I am about to change the world. And people were not joining him. People were not working alongside him to create good smartphones, to create good quality devices. They were working around him to change the world. And this is how his team was inspired and motivated. However, the vision and strategy can only be communicated through a narrative. There is no better way of communicating vision and strategy instead of a narrative. Moving on. The conflicts and challenges can also be handled well with storytelling techniques. An open communication culture can also be established with the help of shared stories. Firstly, because there is a story to tell, because your vision and strategy, if you say it like I told you earlier in the previous slide, that you're talking about your vision in terms of numbers, you're talking your strategy in terms of deliverables, and then you're talking to a strategy in terms of a narrative. We are trying to be the best. We are aiming to be the best in the business in the next few years. We're aiming to resolve at least 90% of our client problems in the coming year. We are not focusing on what is to be done. We are focusing on how we want to impact. What results are we looking at? What narrative do we want our, what inspiration is bringing our vision to reality. And exactly that is going to be the communication and how we are able to, deliver that through a narrative. Now, you can also address conflicts and challenges with the help of storytelling techniques. How? Look, the challenges and conflicts are more often than not out of impact in the real world. Are the impact of what is happening in the real world. Addressing that conflict should also be in a technique which is more relatable for the audience. Do we understand this by far that in the last 1 hour have I able to establish that our mind does not understand or does not appreciate data. It does not think in terms of numbers. It thinks in terms of scenarios. It thinks in terms of it thinks in terms of actual incidents that are being happened around us. All right.
Nakulji, can I request you to kindly emphasize some more on this team management and leadership? How to see through some storytelling techniques, please.
Actually, team management and leadership, when I talk about it, uh, teams are looking for more than just the money that they're making. And this can always be seen in different organizations that there are two kinds of people who are working. And I'm saying this with a lot of confidence. Very few people agree to this, but most of the people will relate to this. Have you seen as chartered accountants that you go into certain companies and their maximum staff has been there for more than 10 years, 15 years? And the other companies, you see that when we see around us, we see most of the people are bouncing from one organization to another. But we do see that in some companies, the core team is intact from 15, 20 years. Most of the long successful companies have a core team intact for a very long time. And that's not just founders, even employees. Now, what is different about those companies and then I talk about others? I'm saving my holds for the names because I don't want to promote any name here, but you will relate to it. They're old Indian computer companies which have old employees, not just in technology, but also in finance. Why? Because they have engaged their team in their narrative. So one of the companies had a narrative set of India's best employer, India's top employer. They are known to hire everybody. They have a problem. People do ask questions that they do not give a good package. Everybody is disgusted with the amount of appraisals that are they getting, but they are still connected to it because they are agreed to the narrative. Now let's talk about a CA firm. Let's come down to the ground. You know, many firms are getting articleship applications like a sea storm, but still other firms are saying that there is a challenge of having good articles. In the recent past, it is seen that employees or the articles are trying to reach out for the organizations that give them a sense of accomplishment, that give them a sense of growth. They want to be part of growing firms, not a part of some firms which are highly established. Now, people who are going to big organizations, they'll go to big organizations. I'm not talking about them. But the mediocre articles are trying to join, or articles or employees are trying to join the firms which are in the process of growth because they feel like they're also participating in the growth. They get the employers are very smart and they are, if you are a leader, for example, your employees have to feel like they have a role to play in the success of the organization. This gives them a better satisfaction than the salary that they get. The salary has to be there, their appraisals have to be there so that they feel that they are a part of the success and they're a part of the fruit and reward as well. But in reality, what has been the true picture of leadership? Lately, the leadership is coming to the terms with the leadership that used to be in 1950s and 70s. But in middle, there was a leadership we used to think that employees should be kept away from the organization. When we talk about success, we only talk about our own team. We only talk about the core team, or the partners are only given the credits of success. However, in the recent past, there has been a huge shift towards the old age, that your employees, your team, which I'm talking about the team here, is made a part of not just your vision, but they have an open communication culture. Let me give you an example of Amazon. Amazon has a strict no PowerPoint policy. Like, they do not have presentations, they don't have slides. They rather have a memo. Everybody has to read it. And all their meetings begin with the junior most employee starting to talk. Now, anybody who understands the reason of it? Well, the junior most employee, when the youngest one speaks first, they're able to keep their mind with all the confidence that they have. But if a senior has spoken earlier and then a junior comes into picture, do you think that the junior will have the guts or the confidence to counter question the opinion or the narrative set by the leader? It's harder for the junior. So rather, when the junior speaks his mind, there's an open narrative that has been posted, and the senior to that or a senior to that person senior, they all have a right to change the narrative, but they're always and always looking at the true perspective that the team wants to bring onto the table. And that is why the communication goes from low to high in terms of big organization. Amazon has multiple times talked about this strategy that they have in their team. Now, of course, there will be a lot of challenges that will happen. Sometimes there'll be conflict between two partners, two employees. I see partners splitting up after 15 years of partnership. Trust me, I'm not able to ditch a single mobile phone before 5 or 6 years when they stop working totally. Why? Because you have been together, but you've really not been together. There's no story that you have. There is no reminder of that. Okay, let me give you a better example. Forget about teams. I think it's very hard to understand with teams and numbers and everything. Why do we celebrate marriage anniversaries? There's no point in celebrating. It's 1 year more, 1 year added. Because we want a person to have the recollection, and that day, when you are doing something, when you're celebrating, you are remembering how far you've come, how the story has changed of your life together. Similarly, I am sorry to say if you are not doing it, but please start doing it. Your office inauguration day has to be a celebration, has to be a benchmark of something, because that is the story that your entire team is connecting with. And that is how your vision and strategies are coming to life or not coming to life. You're successful or you're failing, but something is happening every year after year. And that has to be acknowledged. That's all that I'm asking. That's all that I'm suggesting you. So these are small steps that are being taken just to, engage people. Now, I hope you understand storytelling is bigger than just public speaking. It's bigger than being a speaker. It is something which requires constant efforts from your side as well as the entire team that you're building, the entire organization that you're working in. Any which ways, let's move on. Now, there are some ethical considerations in financial storytelling. How ethical considerations take place? Uh, Many times it has been seen when people are new into storytelling, they are factually incorrect, and the narrative takes over the factual accuracy. This is not something which is commendable. This is not something which is appreciable. The factual, excuse me, the factual accuracy is any day superior to the narrative. You have to be factually accurate, and along with that, you have to build a narrative. There should not be manipulative or misleading storytelling. Can you give me a good example of that? Anybody who wants to, Sanjay, can you remember one common way where people are being misled and manipulated due to
Uh,
storytelling?
not exactly recollecting, not.
I'll ask you a question. Maybe you'll relate to it. Have you ever got a call that you pay us X amount and then make three people join under you? They pay us the X amount, then they make three people join under you, and so and so.
That
Have
is
you heard?
yeah. See, yeah, this is a call from networking people basically.
Network marketing,
Network marketing. Yeah,
LM, whatever you want to say, pyramid
yeah.
scheme. What
Pyramid
are they
scheme.
doing? Actually, they are the best storytellers, I think. I don't believe that there is anybody better at storytelling than the multi-level marketing people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that they're always correct. I'm not saying they're always wrong. I'm saying that this is what we have to ensure. There should be no misleading, no manipulation with your
Sure.
story. As a chartered accountant, if you are doing it for the multi-level marketing, God bless your soul. But if you're a chartered accountant, you have to avoid any manipulative storytelling. Like what they do is they change the narrative from a business, from the work, from the income to a lifestyle. And how powerful is storytelling? That once upon a time in our life, we many of the professionals have attended such seminars. I would accept my flaw. I would not say anybody of you has been a part of this or not. I have been there. I have been in such a seminar, and I one time almost was so unhappy that I did not have the seed money to give them. And I wanted to live the life that they were sharing. But this is the impact stories can have on us. Now, also, you have to maintain your professional integrity. What is the mistake that can be made? I'll tell you, many people have done this mistake, and I'm saying it on an open platform, openly criticizing every single person who builds this narrative. Professionals building a narrative of superiority, building a narrative of professional superiority. Actually, when you are saying that you are better than other chartered accountants, when you are saying you're better than other finance professionals, when you say chartered accountants are better than other tax professionals, honestly, you are compromising your professional integrity. Because this narrative seems to be compelling, but what you are doing is you're just waiting for that bubble to burst because you've already to create this narrative, you have to disrupt the trust a person has in a degree who has in a profession. You're disrupting the trust of your profession and creating an individual bigger than a profession. And that is definitely going to come back and bite you. Because at the end, your professional integrity has to be superior than the narrative. And you have to wisely choose the narrative that you're building. So let me just write, I will just make you aware of the guidelines for ethical storytelling in accounting. There's a huge set of guidelines that you have to follow, and that is not a guideline you'll find in a book. Because I'm sorry, storytelling is a soft skill. We just can be thankful to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India that they thought about, getting soft skills as a part of professional education. But soft skills are something that has to be majorly mastered on its own. All right, let's move on. So let me just start talking about what guidelines can you navigate through and you want to be ethical in storytelling. By the way, as a speaker, I speak a lot about ethical standards and the compliance with ethical standards. So you can mark my words and you can take my word for it. Okay. Let me just start. Firstly, the intersection of ethics and storytelling. Okay, there is a rise of narrative reporting in financial communication and financial statements. Most of the companies are coming up with the long paragraphs before their actual quarterly or financial annual results. And we know that the investors are focusing on the first part more than the numbers because numbers are boring. I said stories are interesting. There is a risk of storytelling in a fact-based profession, right? Because our profession is fact based. We talk in terms of numbers, we talk in terms of gross, so not gross, but gross clarity and gross accuracy. Because there is storytelling involved here, now you have a chance of, you know, there's a risk of misinformation because our numbers are supposed to build the narrative. And when we do storytelling, we end up, creating a narrative with things other than numbers. And that is risky. More than you think, it is riskier than you think. The importance of ethical guideline is that you will maintain trust and credibility. As a professional, as a CA, you will maintain trust and credibility if you I give you 2 minutes. I'll give you 2 minutes, and Sanjay ji will be the representative of all the audience that is sitting. I'm so sorry, Sanjay sir, I have to put you under the mic.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's my pleasure, basically. Right.
I would just ask you, because I have been an ethics, I've been a faculty for ethics in accounting and ICAI.
Correct.
I am very concerned and I'm very particular about asking this question, and I am very concerned with the answer. There are how many ethical principles are there in accounting as a CA of ICAI?
Uh, देखिए, no,
There are five. There are five. Let me
there are
just tell you.
five, right?
There are five
Okay,
ethical principles.
right.
Please, if you do not remember it, anybody in the audience, because sir, I go to branch and I've talked about ethical standards.
Correct.
And I am concerned, but I'm also able to understand that our profession has gone through a very hard time, and a very hardworking professionals have existed. That is why this economy has come from literally back an underdog of the world economy to a giant in terms of 70-75 years we're here. So I know the chartered accountants have been busy with the factual accuracy, but it's time we start to remember and you know not just when we are doing a professional practice or studying. This is ethical standards which should come from within, right?
Correct.
So the first ethical standard that is in a chartered accountant is integrity. Then we have objectivity. Then we have professional competence and due care. Then, of course, we have confidentiality. And last is professional behavior. These five concepts are remembered last in your inter examination, and then we forget about them. It is such a harsh reality.
Mhm.
You know, the journey from the 30th or 40th economy in the world to the fifth or the top 10 is way easier than the journey from 5 to 1. From the fifth largest economy in the world to the first largest, that journey is extremely difficult. Because now the game is not just of numbers, it's a game of narratives that we are building. And today, chartered accountants are supposed to not just deliver, but ensure that we have that kind of faith of the world in us. And we have to talk a lot about ethics, because ethics are the core of all the professions, not just this, not just CAs. It's a core of every profession. Because professions are the core of what the entire landscape of the world is built around. I'm sorry, this is very sounding to be very self-centered as a professional, but it is reality. I'll give you a few evidences of my argument. First, the core of every human being is health. There is healthcare profession. Second, the wealth. There are wealth professionals. Then justice. There are legal professionals. Then the house we live in. There are structure architectural professionals. Everything that is important, there is a professional for that. And professionals deal with issues that are extremely difficult for a common person. We possess a knowledge which can affect a person's life in both ways, high or low. They can be helped with our issues, and we can actually, we can destroy an entire wealth of a person. But then what is important? What is that is making the trust go on and on and on? Why do they trust us? Because we also are individuals. We also have financial struggles. We also buy homes. We also have everything required. We also need money. What makes us appropriate for trust? We are appropriate for being trusted for competence. I am sure that being a chartered accountant, clearing that final exam, you are competent. But how can I be sure of your intentions? Your intentions are governed by your ethics. There are five ethical principles: integrity. that whatever I receive, I'll make sure it is at the top-notch quality when I deliver it. I would not play with information. I would not participate in any hanky-panky business, in any business of any. I would not engage in misreporting, misinformation. This is my integrity. I'm an integral person. Objectivity. Many people know that we have to maintain independence of an auditor. Some people say independence is an ethical principle. So sorry, independence is not an ethical principle of ICI. The principle is objectivity. What is objectivity? That when we are doing our work, the priority should be what the work which we are doing. We have to be objective in our approach. Do you know that similar rule exists in medical and healthcare? The doctors are if there is a surgery, the doctors are not supposed to treat their own family. They try and avoid that because there's an ethical dilemma. And I'll tell you one more thing. If there is a person who, let's say, for example, there's a death and somebody has to take organs out of that person, right? An organ donor form is being signed. Even today in India, I am an organ donor. I am sure many of you are too. But you still know that your family or the immediate family will be asked to sign off your organ donation. I am sure that you have heard of this. Sanjay ji, have you heard about this?
Yes, why not? You see, organ donations अब तो whole body donation की भी बात आ गई है, देहदान.
Exactly. And when you have donated your organs, even after that, your family, immediate family will be asked to sign off on your organ donation when after your death, right?
Correct.
But there is an ethical principle there as well. For example, for a man, his immediate family member is his wife, right?
Yeah.
Now, if the organ donation is somewhat helping the wife, like one of the organs is being transplanted to the wife, you know that the wife cannot sign off the organ donation in this case, and you have to find the next closest family member.
Okay.
This is the objectivity of healthcare. And similarly, objectivity is important in finance. Now, people think only independence is a part of objectivity. I'm sorry, independence is not just the only part, it is the smallest part, it is a small part of objectivity. To be objective in your judgments, you take maximum information. You completely forget about the background. You think about the current numbers. You do the scrutiny. I don't know how many of you make an audit program regularly, but should I show you an audit program to just give you an idea? Just give me 1 second. I am trying to pull out an audit program of a regular audit, a re-audit. Okay. Why am I doing it for a re-audit? Because then I'll tell you how narratives have to be overtaken. Just give me 1 second. I'll give you the just a second. Okay, I hope Sanjay, my screen is visible.
Yes, yes. Audit program.
Please avoid the names of the clients. So this is a re-audit assignment. It's not a first time that I'm auditing this client, but preliminary assessment is a part of my audit program that I will be giving 2 hours to all the review of previous statement. I will review the significant changes. Sir, I have been doing this client from 5 years. I should be able to trust the previous year financials because I have audited it.
Correct.
But still I will identify risk again. Still I will consider the item wise risk. Still I will do a controls audit. And I will also do trend analysis, balance confirmations again, because maybe I know the names of the clients. But why does that have to be into, why does that have to be of any relevance? I have to still do the entire process. It is not just independence, sir. It is consistency. It is my objectivity that I have to be objective in my approach, that I have to give the right opinion. And then we go for the same. I think the program is a little different. What is different here is that we do not have that, the part where we talk about the communication with the previous auditor, taking sign off from the previous auditor. That is the only step that we miss in the continuous audit assignments. Otherwise, every other process is repeated, be it a single audit or be it a re-audit. I'm trying to share as much as possible on the screen because I understand it is important that we see things happening in practical life, in real life. Many people think these are all bookish things. No, these are not bookish things. This is what the world will judge us on. And this is why Professional Skills Enrichment Committee came into existence. And this is why the Institute is so eager on giving us professional soft skills. We have to build narratives. This is a narrative that we have to build, that we are a strong accounting force of the world. We cannot imagine the amount of hard work that the councils would have done in the last few years. I'm not saying any single council member, but whatever council has been there since 1950, there has been a lot of hard work in creating this narrative that we are the leaders of South Asia. And maybe we are good at many things other than just, being a manufacturing factory of the world, or maybe just the IT consultants or outsource. Then professional competence and due care are the third ethic. Let me just clarify this. The only problem that can be pointed out with the job of a professional can be due care, because the outcome is not in our control, right? And this is what separates a service from a profession. Business of a good and a business of a service and profession seems to be very easily differentiable. But what differentiates a professional service and a normal service as a business? I'll tell you an example. Normal service can be labor work, repairs, maintenance. These are all services, but there is a designated outcome, and you can claim anything on the outcome. Like, for example, you have a machine maintenance, regular machine maintenance. You send your car for services and repairs. You do not get the result. You will not make a payment, or you may not. You can argue that the result is not there. But when it comes to profession, results are immaterial. I'm so sorry. Results, yes, they are immaterial. How are results immaterial? Professionals are taking up issues which a common person is completely unaware of what is about to happen. Unfortunately, even the professional does not know that what results are going to come out of all this hard work that is being done. Here we have to understand the only two things that you can count on, and the only two things you can talk about is that person competent enough, and has that person observed due care? And after that, whatever happens is the result, which many things are involved with. I'll like give you an example. You're fighting a case, you're going into let's say an appeal against the honorable ITAT. You have taken all the measures that had to be taken. You have the sign off from the client. You have the right documentation available with you. The only thing that was missing is the result, and the judge goes in and favors the other party, and they come up with a alternative answer. This is not your mistake, because you were professionally competent and you took due care in your job. The only thing went wrong is the judge did not agree with you. Maybe the department came up with a better alternative and a better reasoning. And that is why they say don't charge in terms of results and percentages, because results are not in your control. Mind you, that I'm saying in terms of actual professional practice. And the professionals who say, oh, we understand, we know the judge, we know everybody, we can, pay off and we can do anything. So you are doing the worst for your profession. If you are proudly boasting that we pay off in this country, this information goes out and we have a very bad reputation for ourselves. I just want to, say that please make sure that such things are avoided, at least in front of the clients, at least in front of the world. Then, of course, confidentiality is a concern. Confidentiality is different from secrecy. Very different from secrecy. Secrecy is somewhat personal in nature. That you have to keep something personally. It's very personal information. It's something you don't want to disclose. There's some sort of secret behind it. There's a rationale of it. But confidentiality is being a confidant of that information. You are supposed to keep that information unless there is a reasonable cause of divulging that information. What can be the reasonable cause of divulging the information? Your peer review is happening. You have to show the file. There's a quality review that has come on the client file. You'll have to show the file. There is a case. There's a way that income tax has. There's a code which has summoned you to share that information. You will have to show the information. But still, try and not sabotage your client with that information is what is confidentiality. It is secrecy is harder, and there is very less rules to secrecy. With confidentiality, a lot of rules come in. All the 5 ethics can have a separate seminar, I promise you, if they want, if somebody really wants to learn and understand. But I try and keep it short because I think even that this is considered to be very difficult to sit through for our chartered accountants. That this is not acceptable. We have to embrace our ethical standards and principles. Then let's talk about professional behavior. What is professional behavior? Let me give you an example. Many people say that this was verbally told to us by the client, so we have taken that in account and we have reported on the basis of that verbal consent. I've done peer reviews where I have not found a management representation letter and certain information was verbally trusted. This is not professional. This is not how professionals communicate. Professionals communicate through professional channels. I know WhatsApp is being considered as a professional channel lately, but this is not. It is an informal channel for personal communication. Okay, so now I would want you to write down the guidelines, and this is personal arbitrary. You can erase any, you can write any more if you want to, but please write them down first and foremost. This is my humble request. These are, first of all, write the title. These are the guidelines to ethics, guidelines to ethical considerations in financial storytelling. The foremost guideline is, the first is accuracy above all. Accuracy above all. I hope you guys have written it down. I will also try to share the Word file with you, wherein I've written these guidelines in my own words. So the first guideline is accuracy above all. Now, what do I want to say when I say the guideline is? Firstly, all the narrative elements are grounded in factual data. There should be factual data behind every narrative that you're making. There should not be exaggeration or understatements of financial realities. This is another thing to really be ensuring. And if I talk about a little more, for example, you're setting a narrative. It is not something you'll do it one day and second day you'll forget about it. Of course, the narrative has to be set and reinforced time and the other, because market keeps on running and we keep on, finding our way into the market and, into the narrative. We have to just ensure that regular fact checking is being done. All right. There should be a regular fact check that is being done. So if the regularity is there is consistency, there is everything else that has been expected out of you, I think you are golden. Moving on, let's move to the second guideline, which is transparency in narrative construction. Please write it down first, and then we will talk about transparency in narrative construction. And many people will ask me for the PPT, and I'll have to send the PPT because that is the rule of ICI committees. But sir, I promise you, I would not be sharing these guidelines because I want you to write them or absolutely forget about them. Because there is no point in, there is no point in having guidelines with you and not using them at all. And just having it written somewhere, I'm sorry, all the books that you have in your office, no, there are some or the other ethical principles there, and people are not referring to them. That is why we have to come in and, do this on this level. So if you are planning to, just take a screenshot of the screen when I show you the screen, sir, there is no point. It is better that you listen to me right now and then go home and have a sound sleep, because honestly, you have to be very serious about what is happening, serious about the repercussions of not having the right ethical guidelines for us. And these guidelines are only for storytelling. So if you have taken the session appropriately, I am sure you will be able to appreciate and remember these guidelines too. So, firstly, the second guideline, which was transparency in narrative construction. Well, let's understand the transparency part. There should be a clear distinguish between what is a fact, what is an estimate, and where it is a projection. If it is not clearly depicted, that means your transparency is lacking, and less transparent facts are not facts at all. Okay. Then, of course, you have to disclose the rationale behind the narrative choices. If you're creating a narrative, you're saying that we will be the biggest pharmaceutical company in the next 10 years. There should be a rationale, there should be a growth that is happening, there should be a market study, there should be research before going about and saying that there's a rationale, there's a narrative that you've created. Have that rationale with you. There should be access to raw data alongside narrative reports. So if you're narrating something, if you are saying that this is the company's estimate, this is the company's belief, this is the company's outcome according to our estimate, there should also be some raw data. Maybe your proper balance sheets and accounts should be attached to it. And then you can, use the narrative reports as well. But having only narrative reports sent and there should be no raw data being present there, I think this can be very. Moving on. Moving on. Just a second. Now, moving on to the third guideline, which you can see on your screen, which is there should be a balanced presentation. I've already talked about this earlier. I've already talked this during the presentation. I just want to detail what I mean by balanced representation. First, presenting both positive and negative aspects in financial situations. Whatever financial situation is, there would be a positive and there will be a negative aspect of it. Both must be presented. Avoid cherry picking the data. Do not cherry pick the data. Do not put only the good information ahead and set narratives for yourself. I know it seems like this is what setting narrative means. I'm sorry, this means manipulating through narratives. This means manipulating the data. Do not cherry pick. Do not be like the opposition of a country or the ruling party of a country. They only pick up facts which are useful for them and they leave out the other facts. We rather need a balanced information, and that is why the media used to be called the fourth pillar of democracy. But today, they also work on narratives. So let's just the people themselves are responsible for getting out of that. But at least financial narratives is something we professionals can be and should be expected to break and be honest in our narratives. There should be narratives so that your information is better presented and accepted. But there should be a proportional representation of relevant factors. Moving on, the fourth guideline is appropriate context. There has to be context with whatever you're saying. So you have to provide necessary background information for proper understanding of the narrative that you're trying to build. I hope you understand that much. Then explain industry specific factors that influence narratives. Then obviously industry specific things have been maintained, and then compare the data to relevant benchmarks or historic performances. All right. So we are halfway through. All right. We're halfway through the discussion. And now we will move on to the final 4 ethical guidelines, and then I propose to open the house for further discussion. The fifth is the clarity and accessibility. Use clear, jargon-free language wherever possible. Don't use too many jargons which are very personal to the professionals, which only we understand. There's no point of having such a discussion being done. Moving on, provide explanation for technical terms when they must be used. Moving on, structure narratives to be accessible to both financial and non-financial audiences. Your narrative, whichever you're building, should be accessible and acceptable to both financial and non-financial users. There should be explanation for technical terms whenever they are being used. So these are fifth guideline for you, clarity and accessibility. The sixth guideline is consistency in storytelling. I'm sorry, chartered accountants, you're still being haunted with this word. Consistency is maintaining a consistent narrative approach across reporting periods. So a narrative approach should be similar. Why? Because if you're not consistent, it is difficult for the audience or the users of financial information to go with the narrative or accept the narrative going forward. And people who change the approach usually are using manipulation techniques. That's all I can say. I'm sorry to say, but that's true. Explaining any changes in storytelling methodologies. If you're changing any way of how you tell a story, there should be an explanation for it. Then there should be a consistency of narrative across different communication channels. So if you're doing something with the management, with TCWG, with the banker, with the tax authority, the narrative should be the same. Having a different narrative saying we are making too much profits, we are too much in good days in terms of books of account, and suddenly we go to the tax authority and say we are not making profit, we're in losses. This is a different narrative that you're taking. It is a beginning of manipulation. So please avoid and just be consistent in different communication channels and have a consistent narrative. Then, of course, there has to be a respect to confidentiality. Protect your client and organizational privacy in narrative reports. There should not be a lot of personal information being divulged. Obtain necessary permissions before including specific examples or case studies. Do not not anonymize data like wherever you can do it. Any story which you want to add, maybe in one client's report to the other client, you can use anonymity. You can use the data being presented anonymously, the story being presented anonymously. You don't have to disclose particular and important information of the client. And the last and final guideline, please have your notes ready. There should be continuous education and improvement. Stay updated with evolved storytelling techniques. Yes, they are coming in every day and out, and what ethical standards are being created for you and how you can, collaborate with them. Regularly review and update your internal guidelines of how your team tells a story. And of course, encourage feedback and open discussion about ethical narrative practices. All right. So to develop these guidelines, I have another guideline. So you want to implement this in your office tomorrow, just develop a formal ethical storytelling policy in your firm. Train your staff on ethical narrative techniques. Establish review processes for narrative financial reports, how they will be reviewed, how the narratives will be taken care of. Create accountability measures for adherence to ethical guidelines. So this has been all that I had to share with you. Now I would request Sanjay ji if there is any questions that they might have for me, anything that I might be missing, anything that might be required from my end, I am happy to share now. And I think we are comfortable to move back to the original presentation. Right, sir?
Nakulji, I'm really overwhelmed. I'm really thankful to you that you have taken up such a monotonous type of study or the topic in such a momentous and see inspiring and innovative way. You have taken these all discussions. So kindly guide something more on this particular. I'll request from the side of the audience, because now audience is not before us. See, they are we are not. It's not a two-way communication. But on behalf of my audience, I'll ask you to give some practical aspects when see in the normal course of our office. How should we inculcate these particular storytelling techniques between our team members and our clients for their own benefits, so that they should understand, they should get more connected with us, we are the best source of advisors and the consultants for them.
All right, sir. So let me just be very clear about this. Like now, let's make an organization because,
Yeah.
of course, we can touch that topic because we have time. Now I'm going to talk about the topic which we would have taken further and we might take further in this series of events, that how to create ethical storytelling as a part of your organization, the implementation guide to it. Foremost, what you need to do is the client experience. The importance of client experience should be communicated, enunciated, and discussed throughout the organization with an open communication channel that they can just share that how they are planning to elevate the experience of the customer or the client in our organization. Similarly, let them, once in a blue moon or once every few months or maybe in 6 months or a year, let the audience or let the team, let the staff come forward and discuss their journey in the organization which they are doing.
Correct.
Similarly, I'm not saying do it every 6 months that they tell about their journey. If you're doing it on 6 monthly basis or a quarterly basis, change the questions. So this month, there are 10 employees, 1, 3, and all the odd numbers will tell about their journey, and the other even numbers, 2, 4, 6, and all the other even numbers will talk about the journey of their prime client. That
Okay.
what have they seen, that how the prime client has traveled. This is how they are themselves. First is, storytelling is not something, it's not a skill which comes into you suddenly and you start becoming the master of it. No, you have to start thinking like it. You have to feel and be in that aura of, looking at everything in forms of stories, looking at everything in terms of how things actually work. I'm just going to share a very personal issue which happened to me a very few years ago. So I have a client who is a doctor. Now he owns a hospital. When he was making a hospital, I had spent a lot of time with him because I was doing all the financial work and I was creating all the paperwork being done. And we were purchasing a MRI machine. I am sure many people know it looks like a round, big circle, and there's a person who goes inside and it takes images. And he used to tell a lot about MRI machinery. He used to talk about, okay, this is how the machinery began, this is how it started. That machinery is a 30-35 crore machine. When you buy it new, it's a 30-35 CR machinery. And then he talks about its importance. He talks about how people used to make mistakes before this machinery coming into medicine, how medicine has evolved because of this machinery. And trust me, he was convinced, his investors were convinced. Me as a chartered accountant never questioned why he wanted to buy a new machinery. Know my point. It was not buying a machine or not. MRI is an important machine. We were all of an opinion of having a refurbished machine which is available for 2.5 crore. A new machinery is for 30 crores. But his attachment that he built, not just for his own staff, but to his chartered accountant, the guy who's taking care of all the money. And I was convinced, no, he needs this. It is a very important thing. You should have this. And similarly, as a CA, before you do anything with your staff, we need to first start taking over our clients as separate stories. They are not numbers for us. They are not revenue centers for us. They are not fee paying machines for us. They are a separate story. If you have 3 or 4 thousand clients that you deal with, I'm not saying everybody's story is equally important, but have a story for them. How they start with you. At least write it down while you talk to them. Even the clients who are salaried and you just file the ITR for them, take 5 or 10,000 from them every year. At the end, you can always feel and relate that this client came to you with a annual income of what, 10 lakh, 15 lakh, 5 lakh. Today he's earning like 30, 35, 40. Why don't we make ourselves a party to all that? Because our firm's journey, unfortunately, many CAs don't even write down what turnover they're making in terms, total turnover. Many of them they don't. I'm sorry to say, the ones who do will be surprised, but the ones who don't, they will feel what's so different. Why would we write everything down, whatever is happening? I'm not saying the clear turnover that happens on the billing part. Any income that you make, substantial incomes, non-substantial incomes, everything is not particularly mentioned. And still, CAs are somewhat, there are only two factors. Even if you write down everything, there are only two factors we judge our success upon. One, the amount of turnover that we are making. That's what defines the big four, big 10, big 100, whatever, this turnover. Assets, personal life success, hardly very less, but some of them are explaining their success in terms of number of clients. I have never met a chartered accountant, sir, and I'm very personal with my friends and my family. Like, even when I meet you, we talk about vision so much. I have such a habit of talking about vision and the way ahead. I am very open that they will tell me if they want to, that what income are they taking care of? What is the total sum total of all the income that they audit, file ITRs for, and whatever? I do it, sir. All the ITRs that I file, I know the sum total of the income, and I know what portion of the GDP I am a active participant of. That my country is this amount of GDP, maybe it is points, fractions of percentage, but that makes me, I'm every year I'm looking at the number, and this is motivating me. Because I look at this number, my team looks at these numbers. My team look at how well we have to enunciate, how well we have to collaborate. We have always been convincing to our team and my partners, they all agree with me, sir, today, that we have to work for high value, for high thinking clients. We have to work for clients who have a good vision, because we have to make a story for them, and there is no story that convinces me. I'm ready to say no and bye bye to the client, and the stories usually do not convince me from the moment they say that they are not ready to pay the fees that I'm asking. The story starts making less sense to me, because if you're looking at growth, you're looking at good professionals and not the money that you're paying them. That's exactly how I see my firm. I do not see how much I'm paying the staff. I'm seeing what is he or she bringing to my table. And if that is making sense, I'm just looking at the budget. I can afford it or not afford it. I would not say you work for less. I would say you can work somewhere else. I would pay this much. I cannot afford you. So this is exactly what we are looking for in our teams. And this is how we have to develop our teams to the direction that we're looking for. Financial figures in a form of storytelling, it is a very later story. First, the narrative and the relation and the close bond of the team has to begin with the managing partner and the leader of the organization. Until that is there is no point in thinking about storytelling in financial reporting. The easiest thing is having a storytelling for we two people talking about our firm. That's the first step. Once we have taken it, the rest of the steps will be easy as they come. Right, Sanjay ji?
Yeah. So basically, you see, as soon as I came to know that some Mr. Nakul Arora is going to let us know about how this financial jugglery and this jargon can be handled with the storytelling. It was a nice point of view for me, and really, truly, you have spoken very, very gently, very, very differently. That is why it is said, see, the attitude decides altitude. So how do you see the things at particular happening? And truly speaking, on behalf of my this audience, I or the professional skills and enrichment committee of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, I should say, Really, you have won the hearts. You have been successful in presenting your point of view and different point of view. यानी कि seeing from another angle. See, it is all about how do you view the things, and definitely it has provided us the insight how the ethics and ethical standards can be maintained through in the storytelling also, and not only the financial jargon on your team building, on leadership, on client building, client relations. These things can be, say, which we are doing, but we are not knowing that, see, it is being through the storytelling we are doing. So I think any more points you can add? See, 10 more minutes are still there. So can you add something more, please?
Well, I think we have points to add, sir. But the thing is that there are certain points that if they begin, it will require more than the time we have. So I'm just holding back, and I have to hold back after every session because extending can be a little difficult. I can just summarize what we have learned today.
Yeah,
And if
please, please,
you've been
please
patient
carry.
enough to stay until here, and why not we look at a summary? And
Yeah,
trust me, all the audience members who are sitting there, I think this is the best time to pull out a notepad and just write 5 or 6 lines on that. So that once you have the wrap of it, you know how the story of this session was going in. How the 2 hours that you've spent today, you will learn everything in the times that I'm going to be talking about now. We started with talking about the importance of storytelling for a business. We talked about Apple, we talked about McDonald's, and our first example was the 30-minute or free pizza policy of a pizzeria in India. And I believe that that was the benchmark to begin because then we talked about how a chartered accountant can be a storyteller, how a professional, a core professional can be a storyteller. We talked about the insights of storytelling. We talked about how the data intersects with the narrative. We talked
correct.
about we have to take away that stereotype of boring accountant. We're not boring, we're interesting
Yeah,
people. We can be in the parties, we put our head down and we still enjoy our lives. Our work is interesting, but only when people understand that we are saving wealth for which is lasting for generations. I talked about it. There are case studies which we talked about. I showed you my own firm's manuals, how we send clients a story that how their work will be taken care of, how we attach the client to it. We have to make the client feel committed, not just to ourselves but to their own business, and they should know that we are related to their business. We plant that seed in their mind through storytelling that my team will help you do this part, my team will be doing this, you will be doing that, your team will be doing this, my team will be doing that. What? We just making a rapport already. We are telling you how things will last, and of course you can make changes wherever you want to. And then we this is the way we were reaching from number crunchers to financial narrators. We narrate the world of finance. So maybe if I just say this better, who is a chartered accountant? Many people are huge fans of Mahendra Singh Dhoni in this country. Who huge fan following is there for the captain who brought the World Cup after maybe 30 years, 28 years. I'm very dizzy about the facts of, I'm not very keen in cricket facts. But as many number of people remember that what happened in the ground. We remember words like in the air, Srishant underneath this one, he has the ball in his hand, India is a world champion.
correct.
Over the short fine leg, and this one goes for a six. India lifts the World Cup after 28 years. These are the words, they're commenting on it. Many times, even with the close cameras, today the circuits are so close that you don't need a narration. But still, the importance of a commentator in a cricket match is not reduced. And people understand cricket now. At least in India, people understand cricket. But finance, which most of the people don't understand, we are the narrators of that finance. And we have to make sure that our presentation is interesting to the world.
Yes, yes, very true, very true. See,
Ever observed that English commentators usually make less jokes, but Hindi commentators usually create an average amount of jokes? And when you listen to commentary in Haryanvi or Punjabi, they're making jokes left, right, and center. Why? They are adjusting to the audience. Today, even the companies, the corporate is not looking at a chartered accountant as a controller, as a person who will obstruct. They're looking at us as the person who will take them in front of the investment market, because investment is the reality of business. How the funding will come is how the books are being presented and how the CA is guiding them through. And if we have to be that guide, we have to follow the key elements of effective storytelling, right? We have to
Correct.
structure our stories. How will we begin? How will we take it in the middle? And how will we end it? How will we humanize the financial data? How every story will be connected? I'll just remind you once again. The beginning was talk about something that the client already knows and he has a trust for you and starts listening to the story. Deliver the bad news in the middle, and in the end, deliver how you can make sure that these all problems go away with your guidance. Do not talk about problems which you do not have solutions for, at least if you are looking for an assignment again. I'm sorry it sounds manipulative, but then find more solutions. Or at least start by saying we do not have a solution to this problem. Then conflict resolution. How will we resolve conflicts? Present challenges along with solutions. This is how you manage your teams as well. Of course, for financial reporting, I said use metaphors, use analogies. Like I said, the debt equity ratio is standing on a quicksand right now. Right now, we're not able to, see into the near future, and the future of the company is in jeopardy. So I want to put an end to the going concern concept, or the going concern assumption is under siege right now. So we can talk about these things, have charts, have graphs for yourself, and then narrate, bring life in the numbers. That's we talked about. Have a complex as have a compelling executive summary. Do not just have an executive summary for the formality there, right? Use these storytelling techniques to build a rapport, have trust built in between yourself and the client. Then explain the financial strategies through a narrative. Address the concerns and use relatable antidotes. Like I told you, some client comes into your office, says that I have this problem. You try and tell them that this problem was solved by you maybe a 6 month ago. For if Ram has come in, you solved it for Sham. Sham has come in, you solved it for Hari. Something like that. And successful client relationships will be built through storytelling. I promise you, you just keep on, you have to start and get into the feel of it. All right. You
Yeah.
have to use these stories to inspire your team, to motivate your team. And this is how team building and leadership will work. Address these challenges and conflicts. Communicate your vision and mission through the storytelling.
Correct.
And open communication has to be there. And finally, we talked about ethical standards for communication, for storytelling, and in financial world, we had 8 guidelines: accuracy above all, transparency in the narrative construction, have a balanced representation, appropriate, you have to appropriate the context. There has to be an appropriate context of saying something. There has to be clarity and accessibility of such an information, whatever you're storytelling. There should be consistency in storytelling year to year. There should be a respect to confidentiality even during storytelling, and a continuous education and improvement is required. I think this brings us to all that I have to say on this topic. As if you don't have any questions, I think we should invite Sanjay ji to wrap up the session for the day.
Marvelous, marvelous, Nakul. It was fabulous. And see, I remember one storytelling. You see, the technique when I was learning this typing. So
Mhm.
A to Z. It was sent into this through some one sentence. A
Yeah.
quick brown fox jumps right over the lazy dog. This covers each and every alphabet of 26 alphabets, English alphabets, into this particular one sentence. So I think normally we are familiar with these all techniques, all storytelling we are all doing, but we don't know that we are doing. So you have made us very much clear, because we are often telling to our clients that, see, you do your job, you do your work, you do your business and industry, but leave these all things to us. Rather, financial tedious accountancy and this all auditing, etc., etc., all these things leave on us. So this is what you see, giving them free hand to work, to elevate their the business, and leave these all financial geography for we chart accounts. Often we say this. So this is also I think this is a part of our storytelling. So thank you, Nakul. Thank you so very much, and thanks this Professional Skills and Enrichment Committee for providing us the opportunity to present this session on this soft skill storytelling into professional arena and by CA Nakulji. So thank you, Nakulji. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Wish you all good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.